From blueprints to booming businesses, from groundbreaking to grand openings, this is Beyond the Blueprint. Join host Brad Howard as he takes you behind the scenes of growth and development in Mooresville, Lake Norman, and beyond. We're talking with the decision makers, the planners, the visionaries shaping our communities, giving exclusive insight into what happens before, during, and after projects that define our region. The future is being built right now. Let's go beyond the blueprint.
Good afternoon. Thank you to those tuning in on the radio on 105.9 FM, 100.7 FM, 1400 AM, on social media, on the WSICnews.com, and on demand with the WSIC News app. I'm your host, Brad Howard, and today we're joined by Karen Bentley, retired four-term Mecklenburg County Commissioner and CEO of the Bentley Consulting Group and board chair of Ambassador Christian School at Lake Norman. Karen, you've been an instrumental and influential figure in local politics and business that's helped shape our region. So let's get started and say, who is Karen Bentley, for those that don't know you?
Awesome. Well, thank you for the invite. Yes. So I guess as I drive around the Lake Norman area, there are a lot of touch points that remind me of my time here in the community. We moved here over 30 years ago when our kiddos were little, and I jumped right in because I have a public servant heart and started engaging with the school system. And then ultimately, over the course of the years, I was elected to serve on the county commission and did that for 8 terms, representing what we call District 1, which is North Mecklenburg, and had a blast doing that. And gosh, that was 10 years ago that I retired.
Right.
I came in with the belief that I had a list of items that I wanted to address, and I got those done, and then some. And then it was time to pivot and put both feet in a healthcare career that I had been conducting in parallel to my public service. So, and about 8 years ago, I hung up the corporate hat and hung my own shingle in a consulting role. And I do strategy work, operations work, and some executive coaching for senior leaders. And so that's what's been keeping me busy, in addition to being part of a wonderful startup school here in the Huntersville area, Ambassador Christian High School. We just wrapped up our first year very successfully, and we're looking at almost a doubling of our student body for this incoming year. And great things are happening in the Lake Norman area in general and in education specifically.
Okay, yeah, the population growth is definitely here, and as we said in the beginning, you were a instrumental component to that. Starting in 1998? Oh, you were on the county. When did you start on the county
commission? Actually, it was 2006, but 2006. I'd been involved in some local advocacy matters. Right. Starting in 1998.
In 98,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No, very good. So we were just talking about before we got on the air, we were talking about things that she was instrumental in influencing, and one of the one that's probably near and dear to everybody is property taxes and the revaluation. So she was the squeaky wheel, the voice that was out there fighting to solve that problem, or opportunity. So if you want to give some insight into that.
Sure. For the listeners, I'm going to take you back in time to 2011, which all of a sudden was quite a while ago, particularly for the newcomers here in the Lake Norman area. But I'll bore you a little bit with some technicalities, but by law, every county has to revalue property every 8 years at the least, and sometimes sooner than that. So Mecklenburg did that according to law, and as you reflect back to 2008 to 2011, and you remember the crash, the housing crash and the real estate crash, and the market was very unstable. So we delayed it once in 2008. We had to do it by 2011, so we did it, and then the phone call started from my constituents.
Their bills doubled.
And sometimes more,
right.
Triple and quadruple. Yeah. And that's a head scratcher, as you know, in the context of a market that was what it was at the time.
It was a difficult time. Money was tight. Banks weren't lending. It was a difficult period.
And it became evident pretty quickly that the county did not do their due diligence. They did not roll the revaluation out the process correctly. And that's another story that would probably be too boring to listen to. But the net of it was that I had identified with a group of constituents who were very engaged that there was something wrong. There was really something wrong with the revaluation. And it wasn't just the squeaky wheel from Lake Norman.
Right.
It was also some inner city properties that they'd had some regentrification around them, and just things just weren't adding up.
Right.
And it wasn't just one or two property owners. It was a critical mass of property owners where I really had to pay attention.
Right. Right.
The challenge was convincing my colleagues that there was a problem.
Right.
And it was more than District 1. So I spent at least a year working to influence my colleagues to get a majority vote on the 9-member board to direct the county assessor's office to start over.
Right. And at the time, and back to that, your District 1 was Huntersville, Cornelius, and Davidson. Is that correct?
And also it was a big district. Those communities, yes, but I also went all the way over to UNC Charlotte.
Oh, I didn't
yes,
realize
and
that.
over to Mountain Island Lake. So
Okay.
it was essentially Harris Boulevard North
Wow.
over to both county lines on either side of us.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
Wow. So you had a big job there, and going back to it, was it every 8 years that they did the reval before
At that time, yes. Yeah, we'd always been at 8 years.
Which is a fixed point in time. So, I mean, obviously, as people have seen over the last 4 years what property values have done. So if you let that, compound over 8 years, you can only imagine, the impact that was at the time. And the double-edged sword was the fact that it was also on the back end of the recession.
Yes.
So, and cash was tight at the time as well.
Yeah, and so by majority vote, we directed the county assessor to start over and do it again. And ultimately, we returned over $100 million in property taxes to the community. Back to the
taxpayer. So an elected official fighting for the taxpayer.
Imagine that.
Not taking the money, actually fighting for the taxpayer.
Yes.
So that was very good. So what another attribute that was given was about opening the Lake Norman to the public for swimming. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was the fortunate one to be in that seat at the time. I do have to give credit to Jim Puckett, my predecessor. I know Jim worked on this for a long time, as did Bill Russell at the Lake Norman Chamber. Bill often tells the story prior to this community getting access. Visitors had to go all the way up to Troutman to get lake access.
That's right.
And so he was a really strong advocate to keep our feet to the fire at the county level to keep this issue alive. It's a rather complicated process because the lake is owned by Duke Energy, so you have to go through a federal agency to get approval to do it.
Right.
Then you have to get the money to do it.
And you have multiple counties involved. And
yes.
Yes,
but we made it happen.
Well, very good. So of everything that you've been through before we come up here on the break, to tease going into the next segment, what do you think was one of the most impactful problems that you were able to solve on the board?
I think it was that revaluation.
It was the reval. Okay.
And getting schools up here.
Well, schools. Okay, we'll go into schools after this. So that's a great segue into that. We will be right back after the break. And we're back with Karen Bentley, and we are talking about all the impact that she helped shape this region not too many years ago, and the impact of it. But we were talking about education, and something that is, I know it's close to my heart, but hers as well, from Ambassador Christian. But we were talking about her time involved with the school board and the needs of North Mecklenburg when Charlotte wasn't really being very helpful. So let's continue that conversation on the schools. So we're bursting at the seams. North Mecklenburg is bursting at the seams with students. The trailers everywhere.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, and the Mecklenburg has a history. A positive history or a challenging history, depending on who you talk to about bond referenda. And through that process, they prioritize where they're going to use those capital dollars to build infrastructure, schools specifically. And, for a long time, North Mecklenburg really kind of got the short end of the stick. We send a lot of tax revenue down to Charlotte, and proportionately little comes back up this way. And that's been a trend I'm not sure over the last decade how that has manifested, but when I was there and when I was serving, that was it was real, and we felt it and we saw it. And you had asked before the break what one of my one of the things I felt best about in my time on the board, and that was bringing needed infrastructure. Of course, the property revaluation, anytime that your tenacity and persistence has that type of an ROI on it for the benefit of constituents, that's huge.
That's huge.
Right? It's money in the pocket. Mm-hmm. What people really feel, particularly parents of young kids in a burgeoning school system, is schools close to home.
Right.
And new schools close to home. And we didn't have that up here for a long time. Mm-hmm. And so I worked with our finance director at the time, who was Dina Diorio, the now retired county manager. Mm-hmm. And the long story short is we reprioritized capital spending. Sounds easier than it was, but reprioritized where dollars were going to be spent and got enough money to come back up to District 1 to get some schools built, most notably Grand Oak Elementary, right outside of McCauley Subdivision in Huntersville. Mm-hmm. When I lived down that way, I drove by it almost every day with a smile on my face, because it was my dream to see kids walking to school. Mm-hmm. And we had that there. And maybe that's idealistic of me, but the community wanted it, and they love it. Yeah, well, and it's one of the best schools in the system. And so, when I look at public service, to me, that's what it's about, is understanding what the needs of your constituents are and just working like crazy to make it happen for them. And in that political process, which is challenging.
Which is very challenging.
Very challenging. So that was probably next to the revaluation, getting that school built, as well as Greenways. But particularly that school, that was really kind of my crowning achievement, if you will.
Very good. So, so people that have, and most people haven't been here as long as we have. This was a very different place in those years. And even not too long before then, I mean, there was very little development. I mean, at that time, Birkdale was there. I'm just trying to, I'm trying to figure out the exact point in time in my head. So exit 25 was there, but there was very little around exit 25 at the time. I think Birkdale was probably newer, because I think it was built in the early 2000s, right?
Yeah, it was fairly new.
Right, yeah.
So that was a real catalyst for growth in that.
For that pocket.
For that pocket, yes.
Right.
Yeah, and it's been an attractor.
Yeah, the Target was just built. So, a lot of people who haven't been here that long don't remember. I mean, even not too many years ago, for me growing up, going to, if we want to go to a movie theater, until they built one in Cornelius when I was in high school. Before then, you had to drive all the way to University Place.
There you go.
Or to Statesville to go to a movie.
Yeah, that's where we used to do our grocery shopping when we first moved.
Right. So for the people that think that, going one exit south is too far to go for a service, we used to have to go 15 miles for a service.
That's right. Listen to us. We sound like
old people. Oh, my God. That wasn't too long ago. And also our population back then, I know for Mooresville, I don't know the exact numbers in North Meck, but Mooresville only had 8,300 people at the time, and things have changed just a little bit.
A little bit.
And
it's a beautiful area.
It hasn't been that long.
Yeah.
But back to schools and infrastructure and roads and everything else. I'm sure you got a lot of blame for roads and things like that, but the people, and we've done this on the show where we've had Bill Thunberg and some other people come explain, how the state funds the roads, and it's not the local politicians. It's not their fault. They get all the blame, but they have no control over it. So it's hard to blame somebody. And then, they rely on the state, saying that through the STIP, this project will be complete in this year, and it may shift up or back a year. But when they shift 5 years, or, when it gets continually pushed out and development is approved based on that roadmap, it's hard to put blame on somebody, but it's easy to.
Yeah. Right. The local politicians are the easy targets, and I get it. Right. Because we know how it all works. We know who does what and who doesn't do what. But
and it gets confusing to people that move from other places, because North Carolina is different than Virginia, and is different than Florida, and it's different than any. All states are different. So I think next to Texas, they control the largest, is it the first or second largest road network in the country is DOT. And then Texas is first or North Carolina's first. It's one of the two.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's hard to, the group in Raleigh that's prioritizing what gets done has to explain to somebody why something in Wilmington isn't as important as something that's in Cornelius
Right.
or Huntersville. So, or vice versa. So, no, infrastructure is definitely, a large, important component. So, what do you see beyond this
For me?
for you?
Well, I'm keeping my options open.
Okay.
I have been keeping myself busy with the Christian high school, which has been a real blessing to be able to plug into that work. And I have public service in my blood,
Mm-hmm.
and so we'll see what opportunities present themselves.
Okay. So no announcements on air today.
No announcements
Okay,
on
good.
air today, unless there's a news feed I haven't seen.
No, I haven't seen any news feeds either. So no, I just thought I would throw that out there.
Well, thank you, thank you. No, I love serving. There's I think we need good people in elective office, and I have the heart for it and the willingness to do it. So we'll see what's out there.
Okay, we'll go back. Talk more about the school and your role there and what's happening with the school.
Sure, yeah. So Ambassador Christian, we are located on Samfur Road, and in between Huntersville and Davidson. Like I said, on Highway 73, it is a 9 through 12 open enrollment Christian high school. We opened our doors last fall. Like I said earlier, we just wrapped up our first year very successfully. We had 158 students right out of the chute, which we felt very good about. We offered over 20 sports, and we fielded excellent teams. And then next year, enrollment's looking. I actually just spoke with our head of school earlier today, and we have, I think, 232 that have completed the application process, but we're trending for about 265.
Okay.
So we're
good solid growth numbers.
Good solid growth numbers, and I serve as chair of the board, and I have served as on several nonprofit boards in my time in Charlotte, but never a board A, of a high school, Christian high school, and B, of a startup.
Right.
So, and you've been involved in business, you know all about startups, and it's kind of a buckle up and get ready for the ride experience.
Get ready for the ride. That's right.
And but it's been a blast, and to see the vision of our two co-founders realized, and the school literally to come up out of the ground, and to see the kids, their lives. It may sound cliche, but there's been a lot of transformation in some of these kids' lives. They're making a decision, or their parents are, in high school, which is kind of a dicey time to change schools. And we had juniors and seniors and their parents make the decision to come take a chance on us.
Take a chance. You were a startup.
And they did. Yeah. And I think by all measure, they had a great experience. We have 95% of the students returning. We did graduate 5 seniors. We hadn't anticipated having a senior class, but we had 5 for various reasons that wanted to finish out their high school career there, and they did, and we got them launched, graduated. And so to have 95% of the student body coming back, I think is a real testament to the quality of the work that's being done there.
Absolutely. And you guys focus on the trade side as well. So you have a focus.
We will.
Oh, you will.
That is the vision. We're doing some of that now. We do have a culinary program, and we have a kit car program where the kids that are taking that class, they built a car from ground up. And so there's a heavy influence, hopefully someday, of NASCAR in the school. It makes sense being in this region that we would have that. So, but the vision is to build a full workmanship center, which is what we are going to call it.
Okay.
And we will offer all of the trades in the curriculum, because we believe not everybody wants to go to college or is wired to go to college. So we want to provide another option for them and their families to learn a trade in a high school setting. So when they graduate, they're ready to go with a career in trades.
Okay. And from the private school, independent private school side, because it's something new in the last couple of years for North Carolina is the Opportunity Scholarship. So have you seen success in that program with the parents and the families?
Game changer.
Game changer.
It's a game changer. I mean, it really opens the door for students and families who otherwise may not have had an option to make Ambassador their choice for schooling. And it's, from what I hear, it's a very easy process. I know on the administrative side, on the school side, it's a very easy process.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps defray our expenses as well, so we can grow our program, so we can repurpose those dollars that would otherwise go to tuition assistance, which we still give a significant amount of tuition assistance because we want to have a broad, diverse base of students at the school. But the Opportunity Scholarship really helps us use our dollars more broadly
Mm-hmm.
for program development, et cetera. So it is a home run.
So the program was successful in bringing more school choice options to parents and families that need them.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
So a real world conversation around that. This is Brad Howard. I just got the sign. We're going to have to take a break, and we will be right back. And we're back beyond the blueprint. We're joined today by Karen Bentley. And we've been talking about the Lake Norman region. We've been focusing on North Meck, which is, she was county commissioner in Mecklenburg County and resident here for many years, but now has moved up to Mooresville. And so we're going to have a little broader discussion about regionalism in Lake Norman. So let's talk about, how do you see regionalism impacting our area?
Yeah, it's been interesting to move physically up to Mooresville. I did a fair bit of shopping up there. So the commerce route, if you will, is regional just organically,
right,
up here. But living it
mm-hmm.
from an infrastructure perspective, with the traffic and whatnot that we've talked about, maybe the point here, and I know there have been really productive efforts in this whole concept of regionalism, meaning the three northern towns, as we call them,
mm-hmm.
Huntersville, Cornelius, Davidson, partnering or conversing or collaborating with Mooresville, particularly on transportation issues,
mm-hmm.
Which is super important, because people that are here don't necessarily see the county line.
There's no line in the lake.
There's no line in the lake. All they know is that they need to go up to,
they need to go to Costco,
exit 36, or
right,
I need to go to Costco at exit 35,
right,
or
right.
That's kind of how we think up here, is by the exit number. So how can we, as elected officials, or those that are now elected, how can they continue to collaborate to have that more global perspective on how do we make quality of life for the people that have chosen to make this their home? Mm-hmm. How can we make it the best possible? And so I think there's an art to that, because elected boards change, community leadership changes, but how can we continue that collaboration so that, like I said, the quality of life doesn't diminish? Because this area will continue to grow. So the stresses and the pressures of that growth are not going away. So it's going to take continued emphasis and intention to ensure that quality of life isn't diminished.
Right. And on the same point that you're talking about there is the point of the show, and some of the other groups that we've put together, is to help people understand that, just like you said, you don't see the lines, but a decision made in Cornelius directly impacts through transportation and traffic and other things. What happens in Davidson and Huntersville and what happens in Mooresville directly impacts Davidson, because those roads go through these other towns, or Troutman, and then Troutman impacts Statesville and Mooresville. And, and if we all don't have dialogue and communicate with each other about, what are you approving? What are the growth plans? What is your long-term strategic plan? If all the communities, we don't want them to be the same. We want every community to have its own independent character and charm. When you get off in Mooresville, it's Mooresville. When you get off, or even Mooresville could be 31 is different than 35 and is different. And then Cornelius has its own identity in Davidson and Huntersville and Statesville. And we don't want anything to be the same. We want it to all be unique in character, but we want open communication so that we know what projects are coming. The best example is not on the 77 corridor, but it's over on the Catawba side and Lincoln side, because, look at the impact of Cheryl's Ford, the growth over there. So coming across 150, there was a point when there were no services and there were a lot of houses being built, and there's still minimal services. But you have, I think it was 19,000 cars coming across a day, and they're coming for services. They're coming to Target, Walmart, and all the restaurants, everything else that's out there. because it hasn't been built, or it's being built now, but it's just catching up. But when we don't communicate, then the people in Mooresville blame the Mooresville board, and the Mooresville board had nothing to do with approving something in Catawba County.
Right.
Right. So, but when we sit down as a region, and the communities and the leadership take the time to meet with each other and communicate with each other, we can prevent a lot of these things from happening instead of everybody working in a silo, which has happened for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
And it still goes on. I mean, but it's a far cry from where it has been.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to continually encourage all the leadership of all these communities to sit down and talk.
Mm-hmm.
We have a little luncheon that tries to get together. It used to be
Good.
every month, but it's every quarter, just to talk about things and no agendas, no nothing. Just how do we solve problems?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and is our state legislative delegation up here involved in that as well? Because there's a layer of the state, the roads we talked about earlier, and even from an awareness perspective around when you're looking at the major road projects. And I think Highway 73 is a great example of that.
Right.
And the Highway 73 corridor plan that that predated my time on the board,
Right.
and it's just now. In fact, that's one of the issues that we're working through as the school, because we've got some right of way that's going to be right. So. And that's just right here in Huntersville.
And how long ago did they start talking about 73?
Oh, 15, 20 years ago?
Right.
Maybe?
And we got the exact date when Bill Thunberg was on the show a couple months ago. It was Highway 150.
Yeah.
The first mention of widening 150 was in 1987.
Oh, my gosh.
Right, 1987. And here it is, 2025, and you can actually see it being done. But
things take longer than we would like them to.
Right. Right, and it's a complicated process, but no, and what you brought up about transportation is really important from a regional discussion when we're all talking about our issues together. Is you have Division 10 and Division 12, so you have two different transportation divisions, and you have other communities that can also, because these are state decisions. So if you have, if North Meck needed a road, and Mooresville got on board, even though it's not in their division, and they lobby the legislators, it helps us reach out just beyond the people in the pocket that we know, that are in the area that we live in, having relationships outside with people that are being indirectly impacted, it gets them to the table to have the discussion.
Right.
And if we don't all get together and have the discussion, then we end up with the problems that we had back when you were talking about, Charlotte, you weren't getting any schools, you weren't getting, if we don't be proactive in this, all it takes is one election cycle. The world can change overnight. And people don't realize how important local politics are. Everybody focuses on federal politics,
right.
But local politics can change your life overnight.
Yeah. I'm a little biased, but I do think that is that's the most important.
Right.
To your point, because that's what you feel. You
Right.
feel the overcrowded school. You feel the overcrowded roads.
Right.
You look at
live
the
it every
property
day.
tax bill and you're like, holy moly.
Right.
Right. And that's all at the town, county, and city level,
Right.
and the state level.
Right.
And the other piece, I've grown a greater appreciation for the state legislature, the state level, as I'm a federalist at heart, and they're kind of the filter, if you will, or the stopgap. If there's something going on at the federal level that I might not like, then you hope that your state legislators would do something to abate the impact of that the best they can.
Right.
So I have a really much greater appreciation for the federalist system over the past probably 4 to 8 years than I ever have before. But you're exactly right. I mean, the local electeds, the local positions have the greatest impact, and they're the least paid attention to.
Right. Everybody focuses on the president down, and we need to be focused on our own backyard. And one thing when we start talking about politics and things on the show is we want people to get involved. So everybody says, "Well, how do I make a difference?" Tell North Meck. How do they make a difference? How do they make how do they get involved? Are there groups? Groups that you're involved in?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm a Republican, and there are several Republican groups. There's Republican women's groups. There's even the Mecklenburg County Republican Party. They are a well-formed, well-organized, mature organization. That's a good place to plug in. If someone desires a more local, kind of nonpartisan way to plug in to understand and learn, I always point folks to local planning boards as a way to get plugged into town structure and town politics. That's a great way to understand what's going on.
Right.
and how the relationship is between the boards and the elected officials at the town level. So that's an option, and all these communities have lots of boards to serve on.
Absolutely, and things that, and I know that a lot of the communities have like citizens academies, where if you move to an area, you want to understand how your local government really works. Take a citizens academy through the town.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
and I also believe the Lake Norman Chamber.
Oh, they do?
Put a little plug in and I'm sure that they have information on their website. Okay. If anyone listening is interested in that, just plug into the Lake Norman Chamber. And I believe they have
the chambers can get you wherever you need to go.
That's exactly right. That's a great point of
Norman,
contact.
Mooresville, Statesville, any of the chambers of commerce out there.
Right.
But no, on that, we'll dive in a little more on politics when we come back. But we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. And we're back on Beyond the Blueprint, and we're joined today by Karen Bentley. And we were just talking about getting involved in local politics and, having an impact on your community that you live in and you're a part of. Where do you see, and we talked about the most impactful way to get involved was locally. So what would you recommend being a county commissioner or have been a county commissioner and served in party politics? Where would you recommend people get started?
I'll just tell my story a little bit. So I was very passionate about the school issue, and I had mentioned at the top of the program that's really where I cut my teeth politically out here, was on the activist advocacy side, which caught the attention of some local party folks, and they kind of ushered me into the party structure and elective office. That's probably an atypical way to get plugged in, but the point of that story is I was very passionate about an issue,
right?
And I got off the sidelines and jumped in.
You wanted to make a difference.
And I wanted to make a difference. And so I guess the first recommendation would be don't be shy. If you're passionate about something, jump in. Because that's what it takes. It's parents, it's community members that care about their community, that get involved to make policy change for the community that they love. And that sounds esoteric and probably a little, I don't know, but I think that's at the core of it. The question is, how do you do it? Where do you go?
And that's where most people don't know where to start. And,
right.
And unless you are involved, it's very difficult to figure out how to get plugged in. But it's a good time to have this conversation because, you know what, it's filing season.
It is filing season.
So if you want to get involved, now is your time to get involved.
Yeah, if you want to run for town board, I think I have to check on the MEC Board of Elections, mecboe.org, I think. Check on their website to see what the filing season is. It's usually 2 weeks, sometimes 3.
Or if you're in Iredell, to the Iredell County Election.
Yes, thank you for that. I continue to be oriented to Mecklenburg, so thank you for adding that. Yeah. But check on if you have a passion and you want to serve, why not you? That was my motto. If not me, then who? And just be brave and do it. If that's not your cup of tea and you still want to get involved but not in an elective office, check the Iredell, South Iredell County Chamber of Commerce website. Same with the Lake Norman Chamber website. Right. They have ways to get plugged in on the
and they can guide you
side.
Yeah, and they can also guide you. If they don't have the answer, they'll send you to the person that might have the answer. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's not political office. Maybe it's just you want to get involved in a planning board or a committee. Yeah. And all the municipalities have them, and they're all appointed, and they're always looking for people to make applications to apply. They're always looking for good, qualified people. So put your name out there.
Yeah. Yeah, there are lots of boards and commissions at the local level. And even at the Mecklenburg County level, I'm sure Iredell County as well, they have committees, citizens committees that the boards of commissioners appoint. And you would connect with in the case of Mecklenburg, you would connect with your district county commissioner. And in this case, she can guide you through that process. If there's a county committee or commission that you'd like to plug into that aligns with your passion, So, there are a whole variety of places to get plugged in. Like you said, if it's non-political, I think the chamber route is a great way to go.
Right.
And even the town route there's Park and Rec Commission, there's all kinds of boards, like
you have
for every
downtown
passion
commission,
there is.
you have downtown commissions, Park and Rec. I mean, beautification. If you want to get involved, there are plenty of places where all you have to do is put your hand up and they'll say, please come help.
Please come help.
Because they're always looking for volunteers and committees and, just people willing to help,
Yes.
Help through the process.
Yes. Yeah. And the beautiful quality of life that we experience here, minus the traffic sometimes, but the beautiful quality of life that we experience didn't just happen by accident.
No,
There have been people that have been even predated my time on the Board of County Commissioners that voted on certain policies and budgets to enable those policies 20, 25, 30 years ago that have built the community that we're experiencing now.
Right. And even, if you want to shape that and you don't want to be on a formal committee, you just want to participate in these workshops that they do. The cities will always have, and the counties, they'll have long-range planning meetings where they'll put together new land development plans. And typically it's a 10-year horizon or 15 or 30 or whatever they have. And they'll readjust it every 10 years. So I think that we're on like the 2040 plan or and it was 10 years ago, it was a 2030 plan. And it was a 2020 plan, and we are
And here
old.
we are.
And here we are. But no, it's where the citizens all get together, and it goes on for almost a year. All the key stakeholders around the community, the citizens, the different interest groups and whatnot, and they all have these public input sessions, and people put their little stickers on boards of what they want to see, and this is in your backyard. Well, I don't want to see this. I do want to see that. And then the planning departments take that and they create a plan based on all the input they got with all those sessions over a year. So, and people need to take the time to get involved because those are what they use as their policy documents going forward. So, and I don't think people understand the importance of that.
That's an excellent point. That is an excellent point. Having served in an elected position, we rely very heavily on information and data that come from staff. And from staff, it comes from many of these public committees, right? And they're formed and they're codified and they're bubbled up to staff level and then to either a committee from the board or the full board. And so, it does pay to plug in as a citizen because that shapes the information in many cases that the elected officials rely on to make their decisions.
Right. And when you're in the groups and you're looking at decisions being made, sometimes you have to step back and think that a lot of these decisions aren't being made, I'm not saying they aren't. They should not be being made on short-term horizons. Every decision that an elected makes should be on a 10, 15, 30-year horizon. And that's hard sometimes. It's very hard.
Yeah, it is.
Because it may not be the most popular decision at the moment. It might not get you reelected.
There you go.
But it's
There you
so sometimes those are hard decisions. And but when you go back and look at the decisions being made now, I think they are. I think as this region has changed, the electeds are finally thinking more about the long term. The long term.
Yeah.
But we didn't know we were growing as growing pains. I mean, Mecklenburg was there long before we were. We've really experienced in the last 15, 20 years the massive growth.
Yeah. And you can't control the growth. You build a big city or an attractive city, and you get on a national list of the top 20 places to live, and there you are.
Yeah, and
it opens.
and we were having a conversation, and we live here, and we don't really think of ourselves as a travel destination,
right?
But I see it firsthand. The number of folks that come and they travel to Lake Norman. This is the vacation. They run an Airbnb on the lake. They enjoy all the things that we take for granted every day.
Right.
And I guess if I lived in South Florida or somewhere else, I would think the same thing. And it's interesting to see different perspective because, all of us, or me personally, you get in your own little bubble and that's what you know. And then
that's right.
you're like, well, maybe this really is a great place.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
That's why it's good to travel. It's
Yeah.
great to get perspective, get outside of our collective
Our
bubbles,
bubble,
right?
right.
And say, it is really a great place that we live. I'm ready to come home.
Yeah, no, and what brought it, we were at a restaurant not long ago, and the comment was made about, where are you from? Like, well, what do you mean, where are you from? Well, most of the people that come join us are staying at Airbnbs and everything else, and I just had not considered that.
Yeah,
as,
that's a good point.
yeah. So, but
Yeah,
no,
so,
it is
so let's welcome our guests.
So
right?
welcome everyone. Please come back. Evidently we're very hospitable here because
Good.
most people that do visit us end up moving here. So,
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So, or they bring their business here, and then all the employees come.
That's right.
So,
right.
so
right.
we
Or their
are-
kids are here and their grandkids are here, and so they have to be here.
That's right. So it's a so we have something special here.
We do.
And we enjoy all the people coming from everywhere, and appreciate it because I definitely don't want to be living in a place where people are leaving. I want to be in a place where people want to be.
Yeah, that's true. And we spend a fair bit of time up in a rural part of the state, and it's a different story up there. They would love to have growing and thriving communities in the rural parts of the state, and they struggle. And so to have that perspective, I think, is healthy for me in particular. To say, this. We're really, really fortunate here in the Lake Norman region to have a magnet for growth like we have, and the dollars that come with that to be able to build the communities that we have.
Right. And another good part about all the growth is, it's not a specific sector. We have a very diverse local economy, and I'm talking about all the towns in general, and more specifically, we've dove into this in Mooresville is. Mooresville is actually an employment center, so more people actually drive in to work than they do and live there. And it's not one industry; it is a wide breadth of different types of industries. So, I think we're blessed to live here, and and I see good things, for us long term. So,
that diversification is good. Looking back to the early days of Charlotte as a banking town, it reminded me of Boeing years ago, or Seattle. Boeing is all they had. When Boeing went down, Seattle went down.
Yeah, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Do not. The diversification is exactly what we want.
All right. Well, very good. Well, we're coming up on the end of the show, and I want to thank you for taking the time and joining us today.
Thank you.
And anything you want to leave us with? Any
I just
comments, ideas?
Appreciate the invitation, and just for those listening, if you want to get involved, please do get off the sidelines and jump in.
Jump in with both feet because your community needs you. So again, I'm Brad Howard. This is Beyond the Blueprint. Thank you, Karen, and we will talk to everyone next week.